Welcome to the Last Beer Show.
Hey Wayne, how you doing?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good to see you.
Hope you had a good month.
I've had a good month so far.
Fantastic. Tell me, don't keep anyone in suspense. Tell me a little bit about what you got into since last we spoke.
Obviously drank a lot of beers. Visited Jekyll Brewing yesterday and had a bunch of beers from there.
Yeah.
And cool spot. And
cool spot. And they're doing such good work.
Yeah. And then, we just putting together a couple bottle shares. They're putting together a big bottle share with my favorite, which should come as no surprise to anyone who listens to the podcast, Funky Buddha.
Mm-hmm. No surprise.
Putting together a Funky Buddha podcast. And just trying to stay busy, not melt.
We need to reach out to them. Maybe they'll sponsor the show because they kind of already are. They're just, we're not getting, compensated.
They are. Dear Funky Buddha, we love you. Sponsor us. Send us beer.
We need to talk to the network. Let me reach out to Steve.
Yeah, we should get on that
because they get a whole advertising department now.
I've got a whole cellar dedicated.
We don't have any
Buddha.
ads. What's up with that?
Exactly.
We also don't have any reviews. So if you're listening to the show and you hate us, go right into iTunes and tell us that, please. Any review would be amazing. And any good review we get, we will read it and credit it.
Yeah, credit
on the show.
And maybe send you beer.
Easy.
Maybe.
Easy.
So
I don't think that's bribery. I don't think you could pay for reviews. It might break the App Store T's and C's.
Let's call it incentives.
All right. So we talked very briefly at the start of the last show about increasing level of diversity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talking about diversity within craft beer, thematically about how it brings people together and how we're building communities and supporting communities. And that community is where really what makes us passionate about craft beer and the sharing of craft beer and the experiencing of it. So we have a guest today. Big guest, big time. And this is the first in our diversity series. We're talking to Casey Beene.
Mr. Casey.
Mr. Casey Beene.
Yeah.
If you don't know, tell us a little bit about him, Jason.
So Casey leads and heads up the Hopulist beer reviews, which take place on Facebook. You can look it up under the Hopulist beer reviews, and he posts these on Facebook. And I first saw it, I guess maybe a couple months ago, and it showed up in my timeline. I posted in one of our Facebook groups, and I just thought, man, this guy is freaking cool.
Yeah, I was blown away.
The more
when
I watched the reviews,
it.
I just thought, man, this guy is really.
But this is exactly what we're talking about.
He's really sharp, and he's got a good taste.
He's got a great palate.
So how do we have beers with this guy?
I don't know.
And again,
Facebook
the whole idea
message?
is that this mirrors the craft beer experience on the whole for everybody.
Right.
And when I found out that he only lived an hour and a half away, I thought, well, gosh, Wayne, I know what we have to do.
Yeah.
We have to go have beers with this guy. So here we are. We're sitting in his dining room.
So, hey, Casey.
So, hi, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to thank both of you guys. The reviews have been great. I've got nothing but good feedback from everybody, my friends, and to be honest, I didn't really think the reviews would take off like they have, but I did it. I got into the craft beer reviewing just because I knew it was something that I had watched on YouTube, a lot of beer reviewers.
Right, yeah.
And I thought, well, that's something simple I think I could do.
I've watched a lot of those,
because
too.
I've always been told that I have a good voice and my speaking skills are good, so I thought I'll try it. And
there's a factor. Like, the more beer I drink, the more YouTube beer review videos I watch.
Yeah, and the better.
Yeah,
there's a whole. There's a pattern there. There's a correlation. It's called a correlation.
It's like all I watch on YouTube now, just about it. It's beer reviews.
What's the address? Like, where can people find those reviews?
What they could do is just go to. You could go to my personal Facebook.
Right.
It's under Casey Randle, Randle.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could go to the Hopulist Beer Reviews Facebook page.
Yeah, the Hopulist beer review. So it's Hopulist, which is Hopulist beer reviews on Facebook.
It's a Facebook page.
You can find it there.
Now, I don't really know how I came up with that name.
Really?
I guess,
It's actually a really good name.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great name. That's what I thought.
you know, I do like Hopulist, you know, bit like popular, and so I thought,
Like Populist.
well, let's do Hopulist.
Awesome.
Because, I mean, that's the number one thing in beer, right? Hops. So why not name it Hopulist?
Sweet.
So
You're
that's how I
dead
came
on
up with
accurate
that.
one. Cool.
So how long have you been interested in craft beer?
I have been interested probably, well, in beer in general, probably about January. As a matter of fact, what even got me into beer to begin with was the health benefits that I noticed that it gave me. For example, I was having a real hard time with my appetite because that comes along with my disease. And I noticed one of my friends, it's probably the actual first beer I've tried that I actually enjoyed, but one of my friends brought a Yingling beer.
Yingling, yeah.
And so I tried it. And I noticed, you know, how it makes your stomach feel warm inside. So about 10 minutes later, I started getting kind of hungry. And I thought, this is weird. And so I ate a couple of brownies or something. It made me hungry. And then
That's awesome.
so I started drinking some more. And it just gave me an appetite boost.
I had not thought of the health benefits
So,
being that.
that's really what got me into it. And my first craft beer, which I'm not sure if this qualifies as a craft beer, but what got me into it was Shock Top.
Shock Top. Sure.
Yeah,
Got
my
me
first
into it.
gateway beer was Blue Moon.
Yeah. Commonly referred to as Gateway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess you could say that's my gateway into craft beer.
So
Awesome.
you kind of touched on this and you
Awesome.
mentioned it. For those that haven't seen your videos, you kind of touched on the health benefits of it. You have muscular dystrophy,
Right?
right? And what has that experience been like for you? Because obviously that you talk about that how it affects your health. Talk a little bit about that so people have an idea of what that is.
Oh, well, okay. To explain the disease, it's your muscles deteriorate over time. Is basically the simple way to put it. In other words, you get where you're able to walk to start with, and then you lose the ability to walk, then you're able to crawl, and then down the line, etc., etc. So, where I'm at now, health-wise, is I'm about as far as the disease can progress.
Right.
And a lot, if you're in your 20s, you're doing very, very good. So that's one thing that my family's done very well is stay on top of my health.
Yeah, clearly you're surrounded by a wonderful network of family members because there's a bunch of them around.
My caregivers
and
are great.
the warmth and everything
hospice
just
team that I'm
immediately
on,
was just wonderful. So I thank you guys for
They're very supportive of it. Everybody's supportive of me drinking beer and don't have any complaints about it.
Wow, that's really great.
So,
How old are you?
I
Let
am
me ask.
22.
22. Devilishly handsome.
Yeah, I wish I could go back to 22.
Yeah.
I
wish
think we
was
all
22.
do.
Yep.
Damn it.
22.
The good old days. Anyway, so you told us a little bit about so the first one that you said was a Yingling. Which one was it? Was it like the lager or the
It
black
was
and
just the
tan?
traditional lager.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Shock Top.
Shock
Yeah, I
top.
tried that.
What was it about Shock Top? Just the citrus flavor?
The name.
Okay.
Sure, it's a cool name, and they got like the
And they
orange
got the cool
mohawk.
logo. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. I mean, the logo is cool.
Yep.
Yeah, the logo is cool.
I mean, they might not be a craft brewery, but they got a cool logo.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. What and how long ago was that? Like when you started drinking? Legally, I guess within the past 18 months, right?
Well, to be honest, I actually haven't been drinking since I've been 22. I didn't start drinking when I was 21, believe it or not.
Right.
But yeah, it'd be
Yeah, most
January.
January of this year.
of this year.
Yeah, it's
Right.
crazy. Isn't
That's
it?
what I
'Cause you have an amazing palate for
Like,
craft
I'm
beer.
literally-
already.
Yeah. You have an excellent palate. You got a popular show.
like.
Yeah.
I'm literally a newbie, and I'm still learning every day.
Yeah.
You know, so it's. But I like it. It's fun. It's a good hobby.
Mhm.
I think people should get more into craft beer.
Yeah, that feeling of learning more as you get into it, it never stops. Because every door, there's another door. Every time you open a door, there's another
craft
door.
beer's not boring. It's exciting. There's different kinds of everything.
Yeah.
It's
That's-
not like what you get at, your big stores that are just, to me, are watered down beer.
Right.
It has no flavor, no character.
So what have been some of your favorite beers that you've had so far?
Favorite beers I've had so far.
Yeah. Like if you had to list like your top 3. I've got mine.
Ooh,
I promise you,
top 3.
Jason's
I think you
got
mentioned
his.
one of them to us earlier.
Yeah, I think
I
you
like
mentioned when we were
Dark
talking.
Horse Brewery.
Dark Horse.
I like
Mhm.
the raspberry. It's
Mhm.
very good. There is this brewery from Wisconsin. I think it's called New Glarus. And it's called Spotted Cow.
Yeah, New Glarus, Spotted Cow.
That'd have
Yeah.
to be one. I'm not going in a particular order
That's
here.
actually a really
really great-
that's a lot of people's favorite.
And it's a
actually.
classic brewery.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
Classic
love
craft
that
brewery.
one. And my favorite would have to be, or at least right now, my favorite is the other half beers from up in New York.
Yeah, other half's
But
good brewery.
then another one I'll throw in here as a bonus. I really like the Dogfish Head. I believe it's lime.
The Sequential?
The Sequence.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a weird one
Great.
to say because
That
they
is
spell
a
it
great.
funny.
That's a great beer. I would recommend.
We actually talked about that on the last podcast.
Yeah,
Actually,
so
'cause
the
that's
last
good.
episode because
That-
we were talking a lot about sour beers and just how rapidly that one has
and that
risen.
beer was actually engineered to actually scientifically refresh you.
Really.
Yeah,
Okay.
to actually to make it refreshing in your body.
And I noticed it
I have no
didn't
proof
dry
that's a true
me
story.
out like a lot of beers do.
Mhm.
And I noticed it didn't dry me out as
Right.
much.
Yeah.
So what style? Like you mentioned your favorite beers. What's your favorite style?
Sours, I like fruity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like just
Now we should have brought like a lambic or something.
anything
well,
fruity really.
Some nice Belgian table beer or something.
I like
Just missed.
Well, I'm a big fruit fan, anyways. I always tell people if I could live off fruit, that's what I'd live off of. Yeah, I'd say that, and you're basic. Like, I don't like wheat ales too well right yet, but I like your lagers.
Mm-hmm.
You're just some of your basic stuff.
Right. And you were late on IPAs. You mentioned when we were doing
Yeah,
some setup.
I'm
you
very
mentioned
late
that.
on IPAs.
Yeah.
But Other Half is a great place to start for sure.
Yeah, and I really like their beer. It's the one I had was dry hopped, Dreams in Green, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, it's got clouds on the can.
Yeah, I love the
It's a
can.
really-
That
really
I don't
good
think I've
IPA.
tried
IPA.
that. I don't think I've tried
It's a
that.
very good IPA. But I mean,
Smooth,
Other Half puts out a new
creamy.
IPA once a week almost right now.
Really?
It's
pretty,
really good. It's
prolific.
smooth and creamy, and
So
it doesn't really have a burn at all.
did you get to try
God.
some of what we have right now?
I did.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what we're drinking right now, Jason. We've
Yeah,
got
so-
the
Got Reformation's Oren.
Reformation Oren.
Oren?
It's a special release. It's
Yeah, this is their new release, Oren, which is an IPA. This is Oren is for them. This is a very I hate the term usually, but it's a juicy IPA.
it is.
It's very citrusy, juicy. What do you think, Casey?
My thoughts is I could tell where you could get the citrus. To me, it kind of has a, I don't know if it's the right word, like a nutty, it's got like a slight grassy, like hoppy taste.
Right.
I get it back of the aftertaste.
Yeah, the aftertaste is a little grassy. It's good you're picking up on
But it does look like orange juice,
Mhm.
like exactly, and it's kind of reminded me a little bit of mangoes, kind of the aftertaste a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely really fruity. It comes from the hops that they're using. I don't think there's actually any fruit added to it. It just tastes fruity because
but it does
that's
have
the character
that
of the hops.
hot bitterness a little bit, of course.
Although it's not overly bitter like in the finish.
No, it's really not.
It's clearly a lot of late edition hops and
yeah, the aftertaste is pretty clean actually.
Yeah.
It's not
overpowering.
And it has some acidity to it. I'm not sure what they did to get that, but like real orange juice, it's got some acidity to it, which is fun. I always like feeling that.
It's probably one of my favorite Reformation beers so far.
Well, geez, yeah. I mean, they've got some pretty good ones.
They do have some good ones.
Yeah. Well, cool. We're going to get into a couple other cans here. But, you've been at this now a little while. Being a host of a video series of tastings. Right? And I'm sure you've caught some crap online for trying beer that we'll say comes from some giant unnamed corporation.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that, right? Yeah.
Right. So because people get pretty ugly online with that stuff.
Yeah, they get really serious about their beer, man.
They get very passionate. So what are your thoughts around those things being...
Well, I'll tell you one funny thing for a second, though. Somebody I went was on one of my videos that commented, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, about it being frowned upon, and they're like, do you really think with your health condition you need to be drinking beer? And I'm thinking, what? But anyways, but yeah, you're right. People get really touchy about their beer. I had some comments, they're like, well, that's not a craft beer.
Right.
I think it was like I was reviewing a Shock Top or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, okay, it's not a craft beer, but I call it a crafty beer.
Crafty? That's a good twist.
So
that's a crafty twist.
What defines a crafty beer for you?
What qualifies as a crafty beer? Well, I don't know. I just come up with a term, but what qualifies as a crafty beer to me would be companies like Blue Moon, Shock Top, Yingling.
Right.
I can't really think of any more off my head.
Like those gateway brands.
Kind of like your gateway.
That the macros are
beers.
putting out.
Yeah, I believe that would.
Yeah. I think there's a part of that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit where it's like, even to expand that list into, say, Goose Island, probably one of the biggest that's been purchased, right? Or even Wicked Weed. Yeah, Boston Lager may fit even though they are independent. Would say that the website, their brand, their messaging, nothing tells you that they're owned by an international conglomerate. They're still conducting business as a local business. And while, a portion of certainly tax revenue and employee benefits, all that stuff filters into the community, a good portion of the money doesn't find its final resting place in the community. So I wish they would just come out and say something like Goose Island, subsidiary of or owned by or something.
But they'll never do that.
They'll never do
that. The whole idea is that they
deception.
don't want people to know. It's deception. That's what gets me in the gullet is that literally it's deception.
It can't be an accident that every one of those brands fails to say that they're owned by...
On no bottle of Blue Moon will you see Miller Coors. Right. It literally says Blue Moon Brewing Company. However, in the history of mankind, there has never been an actual Blue Moon Brewing Company. It's Miller Coors,
right?
And they don't want people.
Someone
to know
brought a lawsuit against them on that. I think a while back.
They did actually,
yeah,
on the definition of craft beer as well.
Yeah,
and that's where the Brewers Association independent label is coming into play. And like I said, I mentioned yesterday, I was at Jekyll Brewing up in Alpharetta, and they actually had the placard, the independent. They had the placard, and we talked a little bit about what that label meant and would they be using it. And it will be interesting to see how independent craft breweries use that label.
Yeah, there's been some negative feedback on that label. I think mostly around the timing of it being released. And you know the label we're talking about, right? With the independent, the upside down bottle, it says we are an independent brewery, and you're supposed to put that on your packaging. It just came out, timely fashion after, Wicked Weed's purchase, and people really starting to kind of show that they're getting fed up with it. But
Right.
But they've been working on it for 2 years. So it's just, I think, funny timing, maybe even unfortunate timing. But I think we'll start seeing that on some of the bottles this fall as some of the packaging, I guess, because they buy, even a small brewery buys their boxes
they buy
in bulk, right?
of them at a time,
they got pallets of them. They got to work through those. I think we'll start seeing those this fall and this winter, based on volume and what's in stock.
Yeah, I agree. Because a lot of these beers, like I said, when people get upset, a lot of times, a lot of these beers, it's kind of like on the borderline of regular beer and craft beer. And you're kind of like, well, it could go either way.
Right.
Type thing. And that's another thing that makes it. Like the other day, I was thinking, is Yingling a craft beer? I was just like, because I know they only sell it, and I believe only certain states as well. So, I Googled it. It's
they're owned by AB InBev, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of a.
And there is a Brewers Association definition for what makes a craft brewery based on the size of the amount of barrels that they produce every year.
Every year,
it's a lot of barrels.
Yeah, which is a lot of
you
barrels.
can be big.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada, 6 million. New Belgium, obviously.
Sam Adams and New Belgium, Sierra Nevada don't even touch the ceiling.
Yeah.
Of total number of barrels that you can brew to still be independent or considered, a craft brewery. I don't know if it's independence. That might not be the right wording. I think it's craft. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to watch. And, we're going to, I think, be lucky enough to move on here a little bit to help you with an episode of your show, which I'm super psyched about. Are we going to do that?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Dude.
Sure. And I want you to...
I'm super excited about that because we haven't literally done much from a video standpoint. Nobody has any idea how ugly we are.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not front-facing.
Yeah.
Honestly. We do have radio voices.
All right, so this is... Which beer is this?
This is Creature Comforts Tropicalia. We've opened another beer. I haven't tried it yet either. This is Tropicalia. It is Creature Comforts' highly sought-after flagship India Pale Ale.
Super fresh. Picked up from the brewery last week.
This is super fresh. This was brewed, if I can get the date, on the 13th.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to taint your creativity. Roll with it.
Okay. Right now, I could really taste hops. I'm really getting a little bit more of a bitterness than the other beer. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to admit, it doesn't really burn at all.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really have that alcohol burn. It's goes down smooth, and it's got a creaminess to it. Like I guess softness from the head gives it a good mouthfeel.
Yeah, you're on it.
But it is stronger.
It's hoppier than the last one.
And it would probably take me a little bit more to get used to it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm new to the IPAs.
Right.
But it's not it's not too much. It's not overpowering.
It's not one of those palate wrecking IPAs.
Yeah, it ain't like...
I really like it because the word I use for it is fuzzy.
Fuzzy, that's a good
word.
It's
almost like the fuzziness of a peach, even though there's no peach in here, but it's like it's got this fuzziness on the palate that kind of makes it soft and pillowy.
To me, it's like it kind of gives it like a tickle.
Yeah, that's another
exactly.
Word. Yeah.
So you mentioned this was the IPA that got me into IPAs. I didn't like IPAs at all until Tropicalia, and for me, this was the first one where I drank.
That's a Jason issue. I've always loved IPAs.
I was not.
I'm not here to hurt IPAs' feelings. I have always loved IPAs.
This is not a bitter hop beer.
Not too long ago, I went to a beer festival, and some of the IPAs were so hoppy, I guess, and bitter, it would actually literally take your breath.
Yeah, especially those double IPAs.
And I can't.
Where the gravity goes up, like once
I can't stand that.
Once the gravity goes up to 8-9%, they've got to add so much hops to counter the sweetness of all the malt that they've used that it just becomes an absolute intense palate experience.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'd like to talk here. Maybe it probably won't take me 5 minutes.
Knock
of
yourself
something
out.
I'd like to do with this opportunity that I've been granted with. But I was telling Jason a little bit about this probably a couple of weeks ago. And we was talking about, how I have muscular dystrophy.
Right.
And of course, when you're like me in my health, you have, Medicaid or something like that. This is kind of an issue that a lot of people with muscular dystrophy have to deal with. And that is, when you're on medicated things, you can't make a living. You can't have a job. You can't make any income or anything because if you do, you lose all your benefits.
Right.
So one of the things I would like to happen, hopefully, in the future is to get a brewery that might be interested in letting me be maybe one of their spokesmen where I'm not actually getting paid like a job, but I can help promote them and do things like that. And I believe if, in general, people that have disabilities, if companies and businesses would let people like us with disabilities have opportunities.
Right.
So we feel like we're actually doing something we enjoy doing or want to do to show, that we can do just like everybody else can. And that's one of the great outlets of doing this is it's something I can do and that I can learn very quick.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help, I have a feeling that there are some conversations we can have that might be able to open a door on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do, man.
I think we all deserve the right to feel productive and valuable.
I get
for
it.
Sure.
And I was just want to say that to maybe hopefully inspire somebody that that's in my situation that might have needed to hear that.
Yeah. It's hard to be heard sometimes, especially when you're in a minority group, to break down the walls or the doors that are kind of keeping your voice from crossing over into the spaces it needs to be into to be heard. And anything we can do to help beat that drum, I promise that will happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Great.
I mean, I totally understand it. We were talking on the car on the way up here and talking about how to kind of not so much let that be the focus of it, right? Not to get too meta here, but to kind of humanize. My daughter has cerebral palsy and she has a lot of fine motor challenges. And her world, as I see it, is a little bit different than some other people's. And I'm constantly trying to bring awareness to that and make her feel whole and make her feel like there's a space, there's a part, and you can contribute. And everyone contributes in their own way in this world. And it's important that we let them find that way and conduct themselves in that way. And I'm always trying to give her kind of values like that.
Yeah, that's very well said.
My wife became disabled at the beginning of the year, and she can't work for the very same reasons, because if she works, she loses her disability. And yet, at the same time, she still wants to have value and be productive in the community and do things that make her feel good and have some sort of value. And so I completely get it.
But I think it's genius trying to find a way to contribute and participate with a local brewery or some sort of beer-related business or subject matter, a content producer in some way on the regular without being paid, like maybe maybe free can of beer once in a while.
exactly.
Won't hurt
Yeah,
anyone.
there's ways around.
You know, right? Like,
Right.
but no, thanks for bringing that up.
I
That's
mean,
amazing.
honestly, we'll do whatever we can to help with that. for
Absolutely.
sure.
Well, thank
Beat
you
down
guys.
doors. Now you might have to drive an hour and a half to the greater
right.
metropolitan area of Atlanta.
Totally fine.
It's just down the road.
It's an easy
Yeah, it's just an easy drive.
bumper to bumper traffic, no big deal.
But
All right. Well, then I think there's no possible way we can end on a better note than that.
No, I think that pretty much
And
that's as
I
good as it
probably
gets right there.
owe you a debt of gratitude for probably the best 2 minutes this show's ever
Yeah,
produced.
thank you.
You're
For,
welcome.
So
thank you for
you
welcome,
rocked
man.
it. All
being
right.
on the show and for your family for having us here.
and I'm not trying to wrap
You're
up
so
just
welcome.
because I'm excited to get to his show.
No,
right.
I'm excited about.
But once
that,
you've
though,
heard
too.
this, go check out
Hopulist beer reviews.
Hopulist Beer Reviews, Casey's show on Facebook, and try to find our episode. We'll be there.
Yeah,
Because that'll be out before this, right? Because we're a little ahead of
It
schedule
will be up
for the first time ever.
Seems to be pretty quick.
Our
on
production
that fly.
schedule's working. Don't jinx it. All right.
Cool.
Thank you, Casey.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you, Jason.
Smarter.
Yeah, buddy. I'll see you next month.
Yep. See you next month.
Real. If you have a question or something you would like us to discuss, drop us an email, sip@lastbeershow.com, or hit us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook @The Last Beer Show. A reminder that we are proud members of the ABV Network. Go to abvnetwork.com to see all the amazing podcasts, or go to your podcast app of choice, search for something like The Last Beer Show, Firewater Review, The Bourbon Daily, among others. And if you really want to have a good time, go to Instagram and follow the hashtag ABV Network Crew. There's always all kinds of stuff happening on there, and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for listening. Peace. Oh, wait. One more thing. Please do us a solid and go to iTunes, rate the show. We would be extremely grateful. Thank you very much. Thanks again for listening.